Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power of the Tribe. Welcome home to 20. Today, my inspirational leader, he built a foundation with clear principles and values. His expertise in leadership development allows him to teach others how to identify future leaders, implement innovative development and mentorship plans, and build a strong and successful culture that encourages excellence. His many books include Mission, Vision, and Values, a resource toolkit. One of my favorite, Leadership Lessons from Mom, Shortcuts Get You Lost, and his newest, The Millennial Factor, 10 Steps to Managing Millennials to Success. Now, there happens to be another fabulous series which shows the depth and ability to communicate. That is also a children's book series called The Adventures of Brock Cliffhanger and his Junior Park Rangers. Love that. Please welcome Mark Villareal. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing fine, and thank you for having me on. It's really exciting to be here.
Okay, good. So this is all about celebrating inspirational leaders, which we are very glad that you're here because you are absolutely one and exemplify that in leadership. So what is your secret to living life to the fullest with connection and some zest?
I would say that it's several things. You mentioned one of my books, Leadership Lessons from Mom, and so I was the youngest of 7 kids, and I had, each of us had a special relationship. But my mom would always instill in me that she would always want me to have that little boy in me. She said, never let that little boy grow out of you, because it's when you're a little boy that you believe you can conquer anything, whether it's a fireman and a policeman. And then somewhere, as you get older, you think about the obstacles you have in life. She says, I not only want you to have that, but then as we grew and in my adulthood, she would just preach about, are you teaching that to others? And part of her teaching was, I want that humility was a strength, not a weakness. So lead with humility, and you will understand and learn more from others. And so as you learn, find people you can mentor, and always have mentors in your life. She said, but you'll see that you actually will probably learn more from those you mentor than those mentoring you. And pay it forward is one of the things. So in my books and in the Brock Cliffhanger, one of the sayings of the park rangers is, great leaders pay it forward. So it's not only what you learn, but you pay it forward. So that is the passion in each one of my books and organizations that I've led, and when I teach leadership. But it also is the inspiration for the Brock Cliffhanger series of teaching youth to always dream big and to have those goals and to encourage them in the right ways.
I love that. And again, you're talking about being the authenticity of children, because they just get to be, and to holding on to that. Your mother was a wise woman, wasn't she?
Well, she was amazing. Like I said, the book has 40 different lessons, and some of the things she definitely learned from others. But character was so big to her. It's the old saying I think everyone's heard, but even she would just preach that be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your reputation may open doors, but your character will keep you there, and it's everything about who you are. And so in that book, I'm very transparent, which is actually a great trait of a leader, is to be transparent. But I'm very transparent about my mistakes and things I did. And even when I'm out teaching leadership or different things, working with organizations. Recently, I worked with an organization on harassment with their leadership. And they were amazed, but then it played well, where I explained situations where one, I said something inappropriate. It wasn't, it wasn't too bad, but once I said it, it was that we are human, and even when we step over, we have to correct ourselves immediately. And, and I explained the story that because I lead with humility on how I addressed it quickly with the person involved, made sure they were fine. And I document it myself and reported it to HR, Human Resources. And they were a little surprised, but I'm like, do you think HR trusted me? They trusted me before that because I constantly communicated with them as a leader. But then they saw that, there's a saying my mom always said, values are what you live by and principles are what you stand on. So values, you can say something's a value like trust and integrity, but for it to become a principle, it has to become automatic. And so it was automatically, I said something inappropriate. I corrected myself. I made sure the person was fine, and then I reported it to Human Resources to make sure that, hey, even I stepped over. And so that's a lot that I teach, is that we do have the human aspect, that, and that's why humility is truly a strength and not a weakness, that will show a leader as genuine. So if people get inspired by genuine leadership, I explained, anytime I took over an organization, and I teach this to leaders, I would be there early in the morning, late in the evening. I would be there for regular conversations other than just about what the job required, and just really built the genuineness of that people understood. And then we would talk about personal goals as well as professional goals, which that used to be taboo. And I'm like, but I would start with some of my personal goals, like I want to, take a vacation here, and then talk about, well, what are some of yours? Well, let's talk about them, because we can show you it to inspiring you and building the right proper plans, that as you achieve your professional goals, you'll achieve your personal goals. And we want to celebrate that with you as well. So, it's about creating an environment that inspires that person, that their actions affects and infects everybody else, that it's a positive culture. And really that's what, there's a new word out there called transformational leadership now, and there's different types of leadership. And I explain, in fact, I did a workshop for an organization on transformational leadership, on how transformational leadership is actually 3 types of leaderships: your visionary leader, your servant leader, and your coaching leader. And it's all 3 of those combined. So it's, your servant leader has to understand that they're serving people. They coach and look for coaching opportunities. And the visionary is constantly pointing to a vision, speaking of the vision, and because the vision may be a large vision, but they're pointing to small wins, so people really see that they're making progress. And as they do that, that's what inspires. I would just quickly say, great leaders repeat themselves constantly. And I teach this and I state it. And I use the example once again that in my office, I had a sign that said, until your people start mocking you, you haven't said your message enough. So, and so every person that ever worked for me or was part, or who I coach, even today, or mentor, or businesses I consult with, I let them know up front. I repeat myself, but I do it because I believe the message is important.
You've covered so much there regarding with the visionary, and that when you're enrolling people, you need to enroll in your vision first, but then they get to enroll in theirs, which is truly the committed buy-in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, we talked before that, not only mentored, obviously the Millennial book, but my next project is, I've had a knack for mentoring women in leadership. I think they have great abilities, and I'm part of our Empowering Women of San Antonio. I'm on the board, and when we work with the women, whether one-on-one, and I do some group settings as well. It's sometimes I encounter some that maybe will settle for where they're at, and they have such traits, and it's whether other people or things they've listened to. So the first part we do is we tell them, what is it that let's take some steps to define what you will live by. So we have them define what are their values and their principles. We have them define a mission statement for themselves, and we do that first before we do anything else, because that's the foundation of everything else. And they become so inspired when they realize, well, yeah, I have demonstrated these values in my home life or with with my children. But then from there, then we say, okay, now let's start talking about your traits, and let's assess those, because we want to see what your strengths are, maybe what your weaknesses are, and then how we build a plan around that. So that's usually the first phase. But when you lay that foundation, sometimes from that point on, there's no stopping them. But then, and that's why we say, what will you live by first? So that's your values. And then this next, what will you live for? And so that's when we get into goal setting and, objectives and achievement. And what does that mean? And then the next stage is, as they really go out and start to unleash that, they have to build a support system around them. And it's not something that you start and then you build later. It's something that you build, you seek those you can mentor, like, once again, those that will mentor you. But we talk about what an accountability partner is, someone that's going to hold you accountable, and you'll do the same for them. And through that, you actually learn other traits that are important in leadership, like honest communication. And really, when you communication where you have the ability to be frank and open in the discussion, and the best leaders earn trust and develop trust by two-sided vulnerability. So we're able to be vulnerable with each other. We're able to say, I don't understand that. We're able to bring up an opinion that others may not agree with, and we're not afraid of how they're not going to agree with it. We want the best decisions for us and for whatever organization we're a part of. So we do a great process, but I've always enjoyed working. I've had several that were my admins that I'm like, you're more than an admin. And, although that's what you applied for, and you're telling me that you would be happy with that, it's work a little bit, and they're upper level leaders in organizations now. And they really add a great balance to any leadership team with their balance of traits that they bring.
I love that. And I love the being able to allow people to see themselves. And that's something that women don't always get to see themselves the way others see them. So that's a great gift, and to enable that shift. So let's talk about you. I'm excited about this. So obviously your mom was your absolute mentor. Who else were mentors in your life?
Well, I've had several. A gentleman, by the name of Keith Martino, runs an organization, has been a great mentor, and another gentleman, Mike Newman. But sometimes, so those are direct people that I've worked with that have mentored me. Mike was actually my boss, owned a business that he hired me to bring in, and what I liked about him, and he even told me, I hired you because you have the people skills I don't have. And so he really, that strong leadership that he said, I need to bring you in because you're this element that I know that we need that I can't bring. And he was one that he said the best thing he admired about me is behind closed doors, him and I could argue, disagree on decisions, but whatever the decision was, if it wasn't what I thought we should do, and he said, no, we're going to do this, no one else knew that once we went back out to the employees, that I owned it like it was my decision. And that's what strong leaders have to do. It's just not like, well, I didn't agree with that. You're actually harming not only yourself, but the organization. So, but then I have, great mentors, like John Maxwell, obviously a great writer. I'm a big sports fanatic, and I use some sports analogies, but, I had the pleasure of meeting Tommy Lasorda and Pat Riley both at one event. Total different types of leaders. And one of the exercises I do in my leadership workshops, working with a group of leaders, is always talk about a leader you admire and why. Because as people explain why they admire that leader, then we're able to talk to, well, these are these traits and that. And as you as you develop, or you say, I want to be like that leader, you actually can become that leader. So Tommy Lasorda was so inspirational, for his teams. He was a baseball player that didn't make it. People don't realize he played 3 innings in the majors, couldn't make it, but he was a great coach and understood the basics and could transform that he became a great leader. And then Pat Riley was so different. Obviously a great coach, but he was so strategic and inspired through strategy. So there's even different ways that people can inspire. And when they understand what their gift is, they utilize their strengths for those purposes. That actually, helps build not only on their weaknesses, but they actually can, when we do assessments on strengths, in leadership, what are your strengths on your traits? Sometimes you can gain more by increasing your strength than worrying about one of your weaknesses. And so there's a good exercise in that as well.
I like that too, though, because that goes back to what you're passionate about and what you excel at. And then things that you're not, those are the things you focus on to truly push your whatever you're doing forward, as opposed to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those are the things that help push it forward. I mean, we all have, our hesitations, and sometimes, fear rises up, and how we accomplish that, so, and they say fear is, it could mean face everything and run, but, obviously if we face it and overcome it and use it as a challenge, then it just builds great stories that we remember those things, each challenge that we face.
So and I could listen to you all day, by the way. You're an amazing storyteller, and your wisdom. So what's in store? So we're not only on almost the eve of a new year, but a new decade. What's in store for 2020?
Well, 2020, once again, I'll have the release of probably around springtime of my next book, which is Women in Leadership, 5 Steps to Success. And so I'm really excited about that. Obviously, it's a big passion of mine. And with that, I'll have, some workshops and that I can provide, and the lessons. And in the book, it has, even the exact things that they fill out or how they do them. But as you read my books, you mentioned one of the things that I call it a gift is I'm a storyteller, and so I do it not just in the facts, but I tell the story of a person that I taken through and their success, and even some of their hesitancy, some of their challenges, because, as I mentioned, they got to build a support system, because they are going to get challenged there. They're going to, and it's going to come from the people, sometimes your family members, that are closest to you. And so if you don't have that support system and that belief, faith goes a long ways, and now you have to believe in yourself. And so 2020 is one of those. Obviously, I am working on the next Brock Cliffhanger children's books. And that's exciting there, because I like the lessons that brings, and that keeps my mind fresh. Writing a children's book is harder than writing a business book, but the excitement that comes when I hear stories, or there's even we had one of the children come to me, and he says, "Are you the one that writes those books? Those books are great."
Oh.
And I told my wife, that just means everything to me right there. That meant everything to me. Everything else could happen. That's great. But that just, when it warms you to the heart, it's like that, is my passion to hear that, and he's like, I read them over and over. When's the next one? So. So those are
And your whole face is lit up. So we're seeing that. And that's like so exciting.
Sure,
So,
sure.
so the part of the Power of the Tribe Welcome Home 2020 will be taking two groups of women on a year-long journey of self-discovery and friendship. And we use the analogy of the home because friendship is not a small piece of it should envelop your whole life. So we'll be doing virtual meals together. We'll be doing maybe movie night. We'll be bringing in authors to maybe do a reading. Would you come back and maybe we can dive into your new book and in the house?
Yeah, I think that would be an excellent idea. Maybe, assign a chapter and then take them through the lessons, or even assigned of uh, not only read the chapter but complete the lessons, and then let's talk about the lessons. The one thing of tribe and building friendships is, once again, that's when you have that ability to be vulnerable, but you'd be amazed on the relationships and what you learn from others is extremely important.
I can't wait. And by the way, I'd also like to open up the new the new children's book that's coming out. That's just so much fun. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the so both are coming out. So that the woman's book is coming out, that's being released. When do you think that's going to be out about?
I would say the end of March, mid-April, or to mid-April.
Okay.
So.
And they're going to keep you busy on the book tour, I'm sure. What about the second series in
that will be about August timeframe.
You're going to be a busy man.
It keeps me busy.
Are you going to ever stop down in this part of town in San Diego?
Yes. Well, I was born and raised in Long Beach, but I was recently, in fact, I did training for the Long Beach Convention Center for the leadership team there, probably just 2 months ago. And then I was out in Northern California for the Cesar Chavez Foundation, where I go out there several times a year because I do their year-round leadership. And quite a bit of time. So know California very well.
Okay, good. We are so looking forward to continuing to get to be in your presence, and Happy New Year and all of the wonderful wishes for an amazing 2020, which I can only imagine how great it's going to be. And we look forward to continuing to see you. It was my pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure too. And always let me know how I can help. I really enjoy it. Thank you very much.